I broke my arm one time, healed up, and then like 8 months later, I bent the plates, I broke it again. When you mega dose the GLP-1 agonist, it suppresses your appetite to a degree.
Some people just have that genetic predisposition where we have a very high pleasure response to food.
My last competition was in 2019, so I took a little bit of a hiatus.
That's a classic way that a lot of people start their personal training studios.
I hope that these kids, as they get older, can remain healthy and happy, but I'm a little concerned.
All right. I am joined today by Ryan Bond. Ryan is the owner of Bond Strength Training and Nutrition in Seattle, Washington, or near Seattle, Washington. We have a mutual friend, Reed Kitagawa. He introduced us. So Ryan, welcome to the program, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So before strength and conditioning, actually, how did you and Reed meet?
Reed's been a longtime friend. Reed and I met in middle school. We were both skater kids. And back where we went to school, not a ton of kids skateboarded. So if you did skateboard, we all kind of eventually found each other. And man, it was the start of a really good friendship. So yeah, 7th grade, middle school.
Nice. When did training or sports enter your life?
I grew up playing pretty much all the sports. I was really athletic as a kid, and kind of through life and whatever, I found skateboarding and snowboarding. I was kind of an adrenaline junkie guy. And then I got a few bad injuries, specifically in my arm, couple surgeries, the metal plates, the whole thing. That was kind of the catalyst for maybe I'm looking to do something different.
What were the injuries from? Were they from skateboarding or from snowboarding or some other sport?
They were from skateboarding. I was a competitive skateboarder. I was like, had a little shop sponsor, and me and my buddies, we used to make skateboard videos, and we would push pretty hard. As we got into high school, the tricks became bigger. I broke my arm one time, healed up, and then like 8 months later, I bent the plates, I broke it again, another surgery. And then so 16 weeks was a long time to think and contemplate. And kind of what came out of that is like, I love to move. I love to be active. I love to be athletic. And so, kind of long story short, that led me to running. I needed to be really careful, couldn't fall on my arm or whatever. And so started running a couple miles a night, and a couple miles turned into 5, and 5 turned to 9, and 9 turned to 13. And
Oh, geez.
then in high school, I ended up running a half marathon, and then I did a sprint triathlon, and then I did a marathon. I did the marathon when I was 16, junior year. That was really cool. I was pumped, but then I was kind of looking at myself, and I was like, man, I'm kind of skinny fat. I want some more muscle. Saw like a lifting magazine, and it was like, okay, I want to start strength training. And I've kind of done a little bit of a few things over the last couple decades, and it's been a really fun journey.
So lifting weights really started kind of sophomore, junior year in high school?
Totally.
Got it. How did that progress as you graduated high school? Did you continue lifting weights? Did you ever get into bodybuilding or any of the other kind of, most people, I find for men at least, their intro into weightlifting either came from sports or came from muscle magazines, as you mentioned, right? Wanting to be more attractive, wanting to be more powerful, wanting to be more proficient in a sport. How did that progress after high school for you?
So I ended up going to college. I went to WSU. And at this point, I kind of knew like fitness was something I was super interested in. I was really passionate about the learning as well as doing it. So I was in the kinesiology program at WSU. First, I started out with athletic training, did that for a year, and kind of realized, not my thing. And then I ended up landing on health and fitness education. Well, then I ended up getting my health and fitness education degree, and that's what I do full time right now. Is I'm a PE teacher.
Yes.
And then really within that, I just kept lifting during college. I definitely was into like hypertrophy programming, the one body part a day kind of split. So I definitely got bit by the lifting bug, and then also kind of paired that with, hopefully making a career of sorts out of it.
Currently, you are a PE teacher at a local high school?
Local middle school, actually.
Local middle school. Local middle school. Okay, gotcha. How long did you do that? And when did Bond Strength begin?
Yeah. So I think I entered in my 15th year teaching this year. So
Okay.
that was pretty cool. When I first started my teaching career, I coached all the after school sports. It was a really good experience. It definitely got me out of my comfort zone being a teacher, but then being a coach is something different. And it's a cool experience to have a kid as a student, but then also be their coach. It just kind of
Yeah.
adds more to the relationship, and it was really cool. Kind of through that, coaching and teaching was a lot, and I wanted a little bit of change of pace after school. So then that's when I explored starting to personal train people. And so my bond strength pre-COVID, I was training people out of a local gym, East Side Gym in Redmond, Washington.
Awesome.
And I had built kind of maybe about 10 clients and training people on the evenings and on the weekends. And then COVID happened. And then that kind of put a kaput to kind of some of that momentum I had gained. And then about a year and a half ago, I decided, okay, I'm going to kind of try to get the ball rolling again. Reached out to a few of my old clients. And now I have a garage gym. So instead of training people out
Ooh.
of a gym, I can have them over to my home, my personal gym. And so that was pretty appealing. I felt like I could do a good job helping people and, introducing strength training and fitness in general.
I love it. I love it. So that's a classic way that a lot of people start their personal training studios is building out a gym in their garage. What are your core pieces of equipment that you started with or that you have that you have now? The non-negotiables.
So the first purchase was the squat rack. The second purchase was an adjustable bench. I got a pair of adjustable dumbbells. I've
Ooh,
got
what brand? What brand?
So the dumbbells I have are Titan Fitness.
Okay.
They're dumbbells that look like a mini barbell.
Ooh. I'm
So
gonna look
the
these up right
weights
now.
that you put on them are like real weights that you put on an Olympic bar. So the handles themselves weigh 12 pounds. So if you put two and a halfs on each side, they're 17. If you put fives on each side, it's 22. They're durable. They're kind of cool. They got real nice knurling on them.
Yeah, this is actually very pertinent for me, for me personally because I am currently shopping for some adjustable dumbbells.
If you already have weights for the Olympic bar, these are totally fine.
Got it. Okay. All right. So adjustable weights, squat rack, adjustable bench. Is your squat rack a full rig with like a pull-up setup?
It's just like a basic Rogue One. It's
Okay.
got the pull-up bar above it. I've got like a little cable system I can do push downs or pull downs on. So I've got a few pieces. The one piece that really, in hindsight, now solidified everything was I got a Rogue Echo bike, like the assault bike.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Rogue Assault, yeah, competitor. Yes.
Yep. And so being like, really into strength training, but as the last 5 years, I've really gravitated towards the cardiovascular training as well. Now it's cool that I can have people come on, get on the bike, do the weights. Kind of part of my philosophy really is the strength training and the cardiovascular training. And that's kind of where, I think you'll see a lot of health benefits.
I agree with that. How close is your training style to CrossFit?
Personally, I don't train like a CrossFitter. I consider my training like really basic strength training. So a lot of maybe the rep ranges I do are hypertrophy based, but then maybe on the bigger movements, barbell movements, they're kind of more strength based. But I would say my workouts are kind of 4 days a week, four exercises a day, big compound movements, not kind of specialty stuff. I stick to the basics.
Yeah, yeah. Squats, lunges, bench, dumbbell press, pull-ups, rows, etc.
All that, and kind of I vary it a little bit.
Where are your clients coming from today, and what strategies are you employing to grow your book of business?
Most of my clients, or I guess all of them, have been either word of mouth or kind of friends or family friends. So I have one client, shout out to Janine. She was my first client. She was actually a colleague of mine. So she was a former teacher, 2017 or 18. When I was starting to train people at the gym, I just kind of threw it out like, hey, this is what I was doing. if you know anybody that might be interested, I'd love a chance, and I'm trying to kind of, build some clientele. And she goes, well, I'd be interested. And I was like, wow, okay. And so she was the first one, and then honestly, she's helped me get a few, and then a few people from like my parents and kind of friends of friends. Honestly, don't have tons of clients, but like, yeah, I'm kind of just growing from there.
That's awesome. Have you connected with any mentors or maybe people who are further along in the journey than you that have taught you, who that have shown you the ropes, or like taught you any tricks, or shared any mistakes that they've made to help you set up your business?
My mom is a business owner. She's got a personal styling, personal shopper business. She's kind of helped me with maybe some of the booking stuff. And I would say, not on the business side, a ton of mentors, kind of just picking people's brain that are just in my life.
What are some of the things now, as you've been growing your personal business for the last year plus, that you wish you had known at the beginning?
I knew this at the beginning, but now I'm really living it. Is some of the hardest thing is the marketing, the advertising, and really putting some of the time into social media or trying to get your name out there. I'm a full-time teacher, I'm a husband, I'm a dad. And
Mm.
really, I would say the biggest thing I'm running into is just time.
Yep.
Just really trying to juggle giving my wife and my daughter like the time I want to give them, as well as trying to grow professionally. And so I would say the biggest kind of obstacle is just trying to manage my time and manage my energy, just trying to make sure that I'm not sacrificing things now for, I don't know, to get content or gain clients that I might look back in 5 or 10 years and be like, wow, maybe I missed out on some moments that I wish I would have been a little bit more present or there for.
Yeah, I can relate to that quite a bit. I'm married as well. I've got 3 boys, a full-time job other than the pod. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting, but I can tell that your training business lights you up and gets you excited and energizes you. I hope to just be a word of encouragement to keep going, man. The work that you're doing and the changes you're making in your clients' lives is huge. And Reed had amazing things to say about you and was like, you got to connect with Ryan. Because when I told him about the pod and I told him like what I'm trying to do, he was like, you got to connect with Ryan. What is something that you believe sets your business apart from some other personal training studios or programs?
My business is a reflection of me. Like, I am the business, right?
Yeah.
And I would say I am extremely passionate about health and fitness. And I also kind of walk the walk, if you will. I also talk the talk. And so I think what sets me apart is being someone who's always been willing to learn, always been had a lot of humility around trying new things, and not being hard in my ways or what I think the right way is. And I've gone down different paths of hypertrophy training or powerlifting training. I've done a little bit of CrossFit. I've done a little bit of strongman. I've gone to yoga classes for years, and spin classes and bar classes. I've exposed myself to a lot of different ways of training simply because I love it. But I think that also has become one of my strengths, is that I've done so many different styles of lifting and health and fitness, and I can really cater what someone's kind of prior interests or what they're looking for. I don't have one way of doing things, and I feel like I'm not in this business to make a name for myself or to train college athletes or professional athletes. I'm really here just to promote health and fitness in a way of being a better version of yourself. And I'm not sure if every trainer has that mindset.
Yeah, everybody's different. And I 100% agree that, yeah, your business is a reflection of you. Who are some of your past and present inspirations on the training methodology side of things. What content, could be books, could be YouTube, Instagram, could be social. What content are you consuming today that you have felt has really leveled up your training for clients and for yourself?
Not so much anymore, but this guy, Chad Wesley Smith,
Okay.
worked for a company called, or he owns the company Juggernaut Training. And he did powerlifting, but he was a track and field athlete. And he really came out with some cool programming ideas of strength training, but also how to train to be an athlete. I really, over the years, have enjoyed Dr. Mike Israetel
Let's go. RP.
periodization.
Yeah.
I really enjoy some of the, if you will, like the science of pushing yourself. And maybe it's not special exercises, but it's about progressing over time. There's a guy named Chris Duffin. He used to work for Kabuki Strength out of Portland. He was a big inspiration on kind of the mindset of lifting weights. It can be more than lifting weights. It can be a journey of self-discovery and kind of a way to express yourself in your creativity and problem solving, and just a way to show growth within yourself. In terms of fitness, I really liked this guy, Brett Contreras.
Oh, yeah, the booty guy.
Yep, the booty guy, but he's got a PhD. He's
Yeah.
really into compound movements and just building reps and sets and progressive overload over time. Yeah, those are a few that come to mind.
Nice, nice. Where do you want to take your business in the next 5 to 10 years? Paint a picture of what it would look like. And obviously, you don't know the future, but from where you're currently sitting, have you thought that far out? And what's your vision?
I am still trying to figure that out a bit myself. I do know that kind of my ultimate goal is simply to help people live a healthier, happier life. Having, I would say, like consistent clients, both in person and online, would be really cool. I'm super passionate about nutrition and, trying to be part of the solution of some of America's health issues could be helped and fixed through better nutrition practices. I would like to have standalone either products or programs that I could offer people. So something that someone could like purchase off my website that I guess would offer a lot of value, but would have a lower cost than
Mhm.
a monthly coaching type situation or coming in for personal training. Having a variety of price points to help people, whether that's training programs, but then also like in person and online training. So, really just trying to kind of meet people where they are, budget wise, but also logistic wise about, maybe they don't live near me or they live different state or kind of stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Describe your current product offering just so that viewers can understand, hey, this is what Ryan offers today.
I offer in-person training. So I live in Kenmore, Washington, so kind of on the east side. And then I offer online training. So online training, that would be you get like a weekly, monthly program with updates. And
Nice.
it would be something where the client would kind of pick goals, if you will, whether it's either to, just start strength training, get stronger, lose weight, gain weight, whatever that looks like. And then I also do nutrition coaching too. And nutrition coaching, the goals vary, but it could be from just simply learning how to maybe make better nutritional choices, or it could be a goal of increasing performance or weight loss.
Hmm. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that new clients have had, either about fitness and nutrition or about what it's like to have a personal trainer? So you can attack those however you'd like, but misconceptions.
When I've talked to clients, I've had many of them reference like, well, my friend lost this much weight in 3 months, or I saw this person online and they lost this weight in 4 weeks. They bring up these people that they've seen and the results that they've got, and some of the stories that make it to the top of the headlines are maybe the outliers and not your average person that starts to make different nutrition choices. And so I would say a misconception is that weight loss is not rocket science. but it can be very hard work depending on like where you're starting and kind of, just who you are. And so weight loss and fitness in general it's a journey, and it's definitely not a destination. And so being willing to accept that progress doesn't come immediate, and that there are going to be some bumps in the road and maybe some, veering off path. But ultimately, if you stick with it long enough, you can absolutely get wherever you want to go in terms of reaching your goals. With personal training, with some of the clients I've had, you'll know this from following Dr. Mike, is doing a set which you give enough effort to give your body the reason to adapt or respond in a certain way.
Yeah.
And so some of the clients I have, they get to rep 10 and they've got 10 more in them, but they want to stop. And
Yeah.
so maybe some of the misconception is the effort that I would suggest the client give within an exercise session might be a little bit more than they're used to giving. This stuff can be tough, as you know, and you gotta maybe push yourself sometimes a little bit harder than you're used to.
Then that's why they hire you.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, by default, if they could do it by themselves, then they would have.
And
Right.
sometimes they regret it. They're like, "Why am I here?" I'm like, "Because you want to get results."
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've really found in my own life that training has been a great microcosm for success in all areas, right? So, having the body that you want is simple, not easy. Building wealth is simple, not easy. Having healthy relationships is simple, not easy. Like it's everything is simple, not easy, right? And it's thanks to the naivety of beginners that we embark on journeys, right? Because if you knew how hard it would be to build a business, have a marriage, get in shape, maybe you wouldn't start if you knew ahead of time how much it was going to hurt, right? It's a really great microcosm for life.
No, I totally agree. It's everything is everything. It's about being patient. It's about doing the maybe what sounds like mundane things day after day, but that's where real growth and progress is made. It's not in the big fancy moves. It's in the little choices every day.
Every day. What's your take on these new GLP-1s, Ozempics, and the appetite suppressants that are all the rage these days?
When I didn't do much research into them and I just was reading the headlines, it was like, oh, I don't know about these because people are losing a lot of weight, but you also hear that they're losing bone and muscle because of, the extreme weight loss. As I've dug a little bit deeper into them, they seem to be amazing. My understanding is the GLP-1s were initially made for type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a result of being insulin resistant. So if you were taking something that makes you more insulin sensitive, that would absolutely help your health. It sounds like where things are kind of going awry is when you mega dose the GLP-1 agonist, it suppresses your appetite to a degree, which rapid weight loss occurs, but also, the bone and muscle loss occurs. So potentially, if you were to take less of them, if you were on a strength training program and you were eating adequate amount of protein,
Protein, yeah. Yeah.
they absolutely be a tool, lose weight, become more insulin sensitive, and then ultimately probably live a healthier life.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, like with so many technologies, there are externalities, and the pendulum can swing so far, so far. But then the knee jerk reaction can incorrectly be to just throw out the technology completely, and it's like, no, that's also wrong.
I think they have the potential to be epic. I
Yeah.
think that to have a individual who is struggling with their health and the only thing they're doing is taking Ozempic, I think the ball's being dropped there. I think it would be taking the medication with nutrition intervention, with resistance training intervention, and I think the GLP-1 would absolutely be a tool that would make everything more effective.
Yeah, and easier. Yeah. As long as you, like you said, have the coaching to make sure that you're still lifting heavy things, still eating sufficient protein, and yeah, not over indexing on the appetite suppressant. But man, I mean, I could tell, like, I have personally a very high eating drive. Like, I love the flavor of food. And I've had, not everybody has it. Like my middle son does not care about food at all. But my oldest son does. I do. My wife doesn't really care about food, and my youngest son cares about food. So it's like some people just have that genetic predisposition where we have a very high pleasure response to food. And having a tool in the toolbox to just like kind of tone that down a little bit would definitely make body composition, with the knowledge of still hitting your sufficient protein, still lifting heavy things regularly, still resting, getting good sleep, drinking enough water. Man, what a cheat code to just tone down those cravings.
Yeah, no, you nailed it on the head. I was just listening to a conversation a couple weeks ago, and guys were talking about the exact same thing you are of some people's taste buds. It's like they can taste all the different things within food or coffee or this, whereas some people, it's like, man, pizza's pizza. I can't taste the difference.
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely a thing where people's hunger drive and desire for food, there is, maybe you could call like a genetic component,
I believe
and
there is. Yep.
not everyone's the same for sure.
I like that view. And yeah, I my initial knee jerk reaction was like, it's all discipline. Like, just this sounds wrong. And now I've come to a position where you are, that it's like, no, this is an extremely transformative tool if used in concert with the fundamentals.
Being a teacher, something that comes to mind is a lot of middle school boys struggle with ADD or ADHD. I run into a lot of parents that just put their kids on meds and kind of get lackluster results, because one would argue you could also get them maybe some counseling of sorts and giving them tools to help them organize their schoolwork and strategies to concentrate, and just throwing a drug at any disease or disorder without other supporting
Yeah.
interventions, I would say is in a way dropping the ball, and more could be done.
I've been hearing recently about rises in body dysmorphia in young men and young women thanks to social media. Have you been seeing any of those impacts in your role as a middle school PE teacher?
I have not seen that. I have seen, in general, kids aren't quite as fit as they were when I first started teaching. So maybe you could just say, like, generally speaking, the average mile time when I first started teaching was much better than it is now. When I was in school, whatever mile time you got, pretty much every kid in the class was like, I'm going to try to get the best mile time I can. Where now I see a lot of kids, they just start walking the middle of the mile. They just start walking. And it's like, I've already given up. I'm not willing to try. And so I haven't seen a lot of the body dysmorphia that I've seen the stuff in the news as well.
Yes.
I've, yeah, kind of scratching my head. I haven't seen it. I'll hear some kids talk about like fitness TikTokers or fitness Instagram people that they'll follow, but those kids are very far and few between,
Yeah.
both male and female. I feel like maybe the fitness social media is maybe more of a high school thing, not as much middle school. But yeah, time will tell on what kind of happens with all of that.
What's your theory on the lower drive in PE that you've seen over the past, decade plus in your teaching role?
Oh man, $1 million question. I am not sure what's happening. I do know that whether it's screens, video games, phones, I think that takes up a lot more time in a kid's day than it did 15 years ago, or when we were kids. And I always have these vivid memories of being in elementary school and playing tag. And playing tag to the point where you're like folded over and you're out of breath, your lungs are so in pain. But that was like a regular daily, like, and I see a lot of the kids now of, it's like don't want to sweat, just kind of this avoidance of being physically uncomfortable. And I don't want to say like it's nothing to their fault, or it's nothing I would say wrong with them. It's more of a societal and cultural thing of that's just not what kids do. I can only guess, knowing what I know about fitness and physiology, that their hearts and lungs and everything are not developing to the capacity of previous generations. And I hope that these kids, as they get older, can remain healthy and happy, but I'm a little concerned.
As you should be. What are some of the ways that you incorporate or expose your daughter to what you do on the health and wellness side, whether it's sports or any kind of recreational activities, watching dad train? Do you get her involved at all?
So she is 15 months old, so she's pretty
Oh,
young.
geez. She's young.
But
Sorry.
yeah, but that being said, something my wife and I are really big on is getting her outside. I think just being outside, I'm like a big fan of getting sunlight, fresh air. We try to take her to the park every day to let her walk around, run around. And so trying to be a family that gets outside and is active, take her in the stroller a lot and we walk around. On the nutrition side, I'm pretty proud of this. Like, we only give her kind of like one ingredient foods, fruits or vegetables or eggs or meat, or, we don't, I don't know what people feed their kids, but puffs and, crackers and I don't know, whatever, right? And so I've been pretty excited about that. And it's easy to feed her that when my wife and I, like, that's what we're eating. So whenever she sees us eating things, she wants some. And when we're eating whole, healthy food, it's like, oh, there's nothing like we're eating that it would be too unhealthy for her to have. And so we're, again, kind of walking the walk, and that makes me very happy, a very proud dad right now.
Are you training for anything like anything competitive, whether it's endurance based or sprinting, powerlifting, bodybuilding, anything?
10 years or so, I've done powerlifting competitions. For those of you who don't powerlift, the powerlifting is the squat, bench, and deadlift. And so I currently have a competition on November 16th, I think, maybe like 5 or 6 weeks out. So yeah, I've been training pretty hard. It's been fun to have a date on the calendar. My last competition was in 2019, so I took a little bit of a hiatus. So I'm excited to get my feet wet and get back on the platform.
That's awesome. Now, you're going to have to school me a bit in all the different categories. I know there's open, there are natural competitions, there are with suit, without suit, with wraps, without wraps. What are the categories of powerlifting for people to kind of understand?
Totally. There's a lot going on. So there's something called equipped powerlifting. Equipped powerlifting isn't very popular. It's where you have what's called a squat suit, a bench shirt, and a deadlift suit. These suits and shirts help you lift hundreds of pounds more. Not many people do that. I do raw powerlifting. So, raw powerlifting is where you can wear a belt, knee sleeves, and wrist wraps. Beyond that, there's different weight classes. And then I signed up for the sub masters division this year because I'm 36 years old. And so I'm in the sub masters division. I'll be competing in the 90-kilo weight class.
That's exciting. What is your best lift out of the three?
It's hard to say. I would honestly say I'm pretty well rounded. I would say my bench and my deadlift are pretty comparable. I'd say my squat needs to catch up a little bit. My current personal bests are 479 pounds in the squat.
Wow, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it would be cool to get a 500-pound squat at this next competition. We'll see if it happens. That's what I'm going for. My best bench press is 330 pounds. It'd be great if I could add a few kilos to that this competition. And then my best deadlift is 573.
For the squat, are you judged hip below knee or in line with knee? Like what is the depth for a legal squat?
I believe the definition is your hip crease has to go below your knee. It gets a little gray when you get up there, but like if your femur or your thigh is parallel, you need to go a little bit deeper. It gets a little bit gray. There's judges. So the squat's got to be below parallel. Bench press, there's a bench command. So they tell you to start and then you got to pause it on your chest and they tell you to press. So it's not like maybe what people would think like a gym bench where you kind of bounce it off your chest. So definitely take some pounds away from your bench when you have to do the pause.
That's cool. Yeah, you got me beat, man, by quite a bit, by quite a bit. I have a decent squat, 405. So what's that? Just four plates on the standard bar. Bench is by far my weakest. I haven't even maxed out on it. I don't think I've ever maxed out on bench, but I'd be surprised if it's above 275, probably at 250, to be honest. And then my deadlift is 515. So nowhere near, where were you? 570? You're almost at 600.
I'm almost a couple of months ago. I pulled 6 plates. I pulled 585.
Jeez, man, that's amazing.
So we'll see if I can put it together on the day. I was going to say something real quick for bench is that so your frequency of bench. I've benched up to 5 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week, like no less than 3 days a week, which I would never recommend that for the squat or deadlift. But a lot of times for the bench press, you can really up the frequency, and that has really helped my strength.
Is it because it's such a smaller muscle, so it recovers faster?
That's what I think. I think the absolute load that we're benching with, if you were a 500-pound bencher, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you're, below 400, and especially where we're at, it's just you're not actually moving that much weight. And the fact that it's not like an axial loading lift in the sense you're laying down, I just don't think the central fatigue is as high. And so you can get away with a little bit higher frequency.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. You didn't mention any ancillary sports other than distance running and skateboarding, but I played ice hockey and then ran track. And so everything, the squat, deadlift, power clean complex, very accustomed to. And at least in track, was never really incentivized to develop my bench to like, you need to have a lot of upper body strength, right? To pump the arms, but you also need to have flexibility because especially on the relays, you got to get your arm back, right? And if your chest is too tight, it makes it harder on the relays.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, the bench press is definitely one of those like you could switch in the standing overhead press or the push press or something like that. And you could maybe argue that's like a little bit more athletic. So the bench press, I totally get it where athletes are like, maybe not what you want to be doing, especially like maybe baseball player or basketball player or something like that.
Yeah, especially if you have to have a lot of external rotation, it can be problematic. Are there any charities or organizations that you love to promote? And then we can kind of end with how people can check you out online.
Oh man, I guess what I would just like to end with is just health and fitness can be for everybody. It doesn't have to be lifting weights, it doesn't have to be running. I love that pickleball's exploding. I love to play golf, going out, playing with your kids, playing with your dog. Find a reason to get outside, find a reason to be active, get off the screen, whether that's phones or TVs. I feel like if people are creative enough, you can find something that gets you excited. I think that's kind of my message to everybody is that health and fitness, no matter how old you are, or kind of maybe if you have limitations or not, an active life is the best life. And it's really hard to be the best version of yourself if you're a very sedentary person.
I love that message. All right, Ryan, how can people check you out? How can people find you?
So right now I'm active on Instagram. So it's Bond.strength on Instagram. You'll see me, Ryan Bond. I've got a link or got my email on there so you can shoot me an email. I would love to connect with anyone who's interested, or if anyone's just got questions they want to run by me or something. I can definitely try to point you in the right direction if I don't know the answer, or if you're looking for some type of other health and fitness professional. I'm here to help, and I'm really passionate about you know, learning more.
Wonderful. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the Eden Group podcast. And I hope our audience checks you out and all the best.
Oh, thank you, sir. This was a pleasure.